Okay, so we will call the meeting to order at 6:02 on Monday, May 15th, 2023. And I've got some consent agenda items here, along with some general fund vouchers and purchasing card transactions. We would request approval of general fund vouchers 179530 through 179760 and 292250 through 292281, and purchasing card transactions dated 3/21/23 through 4/20/23. Also have some professional staffing recommendations, some co-curricular staffing recommendations. And if anybody does not have anything else to add, I would look for a motion to approve.
And administrative staff recommendations as well.
I'll so move.
Thank you. Megan, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Tom? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. On to public comments. And I just know that we do have at least one public comment this evening. Angie, do we have anything else?
We have received the one written comment. Would you be comfortable with me asking the members of the public attending via Zoom?
Please do.
Okay, one moment. All right. If you would like to make a public appearance by speaking to the board, please utilize the Q&A portion found at the bottom of your Zoom window. In the Q&A, we would ask that you type your name, address, subject of interest, and whether you have discussed this item prior to the meeting with either a district administrator or President Howery. After submitting the information, I would transfer you over to speak to the board. Thank you.
Okay, we do have one this evening, but I've got a short read to do first, and I will go ahead and do that. In accordance with school board policy number 167.3, the McFarland School Board welcomes public comment during regular meetings. The board will accept public comments via individuals who are physically present at the board meeting, who are participating in the board meeting virtually, or who have sent an email to the board president or superintendent in advance of the meeting. Please note the following. Participants are required to register their intention to participate in the noticed public comment portion of the meeting upon their arrival at the meeting, and shall begin their comments by stating their name, address, and group affiliation if and when that is appropriate. Participants shall address only topics within the legitimate jurisdiction of the board. The board members will not directly respond to comments and may only take action on topics that are on the published agenda. Participants are asked to limit their comments to 5 minutes in duration. Written comments will have a word limit of 250. The portion of the meeting for public comments is limited to 60 minutes unless extended by a vote of the board, and participants shall direct all comments to the board and observe reasonable decorum. Okay, so I've got one statement, letter. Writer asked for this to be read at tonight's meeting, so I will do that. Mr. Howery and Mr. Tarnitzer, my name is Corrine Westrich, and I am writing you with public comment for Monday's school board meeting. My comments are specific to the following agenda action items. 8.b, action on approval of WIAA Girls Lacrosse Cooperative Team Sponsorship, and 8C, action on approval of WIAA Boys Lacrosse Cooperative Team Sponsorship. Per USA Lacrosse, lacrosse has been one of the fastest growing sports at the high school level over the last few decades, and there is still room for much more growth. With the WIAA vote last December, in 2023, Wisconsin will join a growing list of states in which lacrosse is an officially sanctioned state championship sport for both boys and girls. The agenda items before you, if approved, would ensure the current student-athlete lacrosse players in our district continue to have a healthy, positive, and diverse co-curricular activity. Additionally, The approval of the cooperative team sponsorship would provide these student athletes with the opportunity to excel and be recognized in a similar fashion to their peers participating in other high school sports. Unfortunately, if these agenda items are not passed, lacrosse student athletes in our district will not have an opportunity to play their sport, as the current Oregon Lacrosse Club will no longer offer a club option at the high school level. On a personal level, I've witnessed the positivity of this sport. Going into her freshman year of high school, my stepdaughter Kylie was quiet and shy. At the behest of a hockey teammate, she tried lacrosse her freshman spring and loved it. She played all 4 years of high school with the Oregon Lacrosse Club, and after graduation began coaching club girls' youth teams. My son Blake first registered for lacrosse in the spring of 2020. While that didn't quite work out, he did start playing in the spring of 2021 and has not looked back. This sport has lit a competitive fire and encouraged him to work hard. This year, as one of the older and more experienced kids on the current Oregon Lacrosse Club U14 team, Blake is looked to as a leader of his team and it has been a great growth experience for him. Please approve the agenda action items before you so that our existing student athletes may continue to play a sport they love and may have the opportunity to share it with their peers. Thank you for your time and consideration. Corrine Westrich, stepmother of Kylie Babcock, class of 21, a 4-year lacrosse player. Stepmother of Vincent Babcock, currently a junior at MHS. Mother of Blake Doolin, currently an 8th grader at IMMS, lacrosse player since spring of 21, and mother of Zane Doolin, currently a 7th grader at IMMS. Okay. Do we have anything else, Angie?
We have not had anyone else register to speak.
Okay, in that case, we will move along to informational items, and we're going to start with a presentation by Alliant Energy on our solar sublease. Welcome.
Well, good evening. I'll introduce, this is Andy Ellert, Alliant Energy.
What was the name again?
Andy Ehlert. I am a Senior Resource Development Manager with Lion Energy.
And without me taking much time, we also have Andrew Bremer, Village of McFarland, part of the Zoom, so if there's any questions. Otherwise, what a great opportunity for us to come forward as a village, a school district, and a energy provider to work on a win-win-win solution. So I'm not
Yeah.
gonna take any more time. I'm
Yeah.
gonna take Andy.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. So we got a PowerPoint presentation up here, and this is very similar to the PowerPoint presentation I put on a couple days ago with the board. Actually, not with the board, but with the Sustainability Group Committee on last Monday night. I changed a few items in terms of the pollinator friendly, but otherwise it's the same program. A couple years ago, we started talking with the school board and the Village of McFarland to do a customer-hosted program. Alliant Energy, if you go to the next slide, we have got, of course, we have a clean energy blueprint that we rolled out a couple years ago. Right there on the slides, you can see what our goals are over the course of by 2030, by 2040, and by 2050. So when you talk about the programs that we've got going right now in terms of the utility scale solar projects that we have been building, the battery work that we will be following up those utility scale solar projects with, distributed generation projects, and then at a smaller level, these customer hosted projects, they basically roll all into advancing our clean energy future and our clean energy blueprint, as the company calls it. So next slide. Once again, we are in the process right now of building 12 utility scale solar projects, which is a little bit more than 1,000 megawatts or 1 gigawatt. They should all be operational by the end of 2023. Those are distributed throughout our footprint. The battery storage work will be coming in a couple of years to follow those up. And then the last bullet there is, in the process of all of that, we're also going to be looking to retire our coal-fired power plant at Edgewater in June of 2025. Columbia is soon after that, about 2026.
Wow,
Thanks.
that's pretty soon.
Yeah, they're coming up. Yeah. So this program, once again, this was rolled out in 2019. It's a tariff-based program, and by tariff, basically, we created the tariff, wrote the tariff, put it in front of the Public Service Commission, and they approved it. It's a pilot program. We have 20 megawatts of construction that we can build under this pilot program before we go to a full program. But basically, if you look in the center there in the green, that is the program we're talking about. That's the customer-hosted renewables program. Of course, on the left there is community solar. We offer a community solar program as well. We are starting to roll that out in a couple of different cities and towns, some in Wisconsin, some in our Iowa footprint. And then on the blue side there on the right is our Renewable Energy Partners Program, which is a little bit bigger. That's for programs and companies that have got 5 megawatts, 10 megawatts of power, and we would work to put a solar facility together with them. Next slide. So the middle, once again, is, and this is a very simple, this is about, in terms of all of those slides or all those items I just showed you there, customer hosted is it's a very simple business model. We basically build or design, procure, build, own, and operate one of our solar facilities, so our generation facility, on a company or a customer's either ground or roof, and paying them a lease. The lease, of course, is over 20 years. That's the base. There's 3 5-year extensions, but that's basically it. That's a pretty simple business model. So in the perfect example here with the Village of McFarland School District, can you go to the next slide? It will show you kind of basically let's see, maybe I cut out that slide. Well, okay, let me go back. So there's a couple of things that you have to, the control points and the design criteria are as follows. For a customer-hosted project, we can build as small as 200 kW to as much as 2.25 megawatts, okay? But our control, the design size of the project, is based on the customer's electrical firm demand. So our customer in this particular situation is the McFarland School District. We take all of the power that you need on a daily basis, and what we do is we look at your maximum, and your maximum is typically going to be like a July day when the air conditioning is running for most of our companies. Now, obviously, when your school is not in session, that's a very different story. Well, we look at your electrical firm demand, which I believe for the school district was about 1.7 megawatts. Okay, typically that is our design maximum if a customer has enough land. In this particular situation, the land that the Village of McFarland bought for this particular project is about 8 acres. So if you look at our rule of thumb, we can build about 6 or 7 megawatts. I'm sorry, we need about 6 or 7 acres per megawatt. So with that 8 acres, we could get a project of about 1.4 megawatts on that project, on that site. So the next, okay, so go ahead to the next slide. So when we look at this project, McFarland School District, customer-hosted project, our lease, of course, will be with the McFarland School District, okay? The project size is 1.4 megawatts, so on a sunny day like today, that solar facility, once it's built, owned, and operational, is going to be enough power for about 300 McFarland homes on any sunny day. This is not the kind of a system, as you know. This is what we would call in front of the meter. It's not behind the meter. Behind the meter, if you were to do your own system, would slow your electric meter down, and you'd get lower electric bills. This is a different situation. This is in front of the meter, which, once again, this is something that we own and operate, and the power that is created goes right down across the property line to our McFarland substation, and it is socialized right out onto the distribution grid instantly. Okay, so it doesn't, once again, it's not the type of a system that gets your meter to flow backwards. It's our facility on your leased land, and it goes right into the distribution grid for a lease payment. Once again, the facility, when you see it at the very end, and I have a couple slides to show you eventually, the project, of course, is on 8 acres of land. It's behind what's called deer exclusion fencing. I have one slide which shows deer exclusion fencing. It's basically what you would see on the side of a highway, but taller, probably 7 to 8 feet tall. We encourage small mammals to move in and out and travel through the fencing. We discourage large mammals from moving through, like deer. So that's the reason, one of the reasons why this is called deer exclusion fencing. And this is the actual minimum, how should I say this? This is the minimum type of fencing that is allowable by the NEC code, National Electric Code, for a generation facility like a solar facility. Once again, Alliant will build and own and operate it on the facility and make monthly payments to the McFarland School District. Lease is 20 years, plus with 3 5-year extensions. And like I said before on that, one of those lower bullets, it's connected straight to the Alliant distribution network. The great part about this project, the ideal part of this project, is that this, because we are so close to one of our substations that has been recently upgraded for the Yahara Solar project, really will help us keep our cost on this project down. Because at the end of the day, we will take this cost of this project, plus all of the cost for all of our other customer-hosted program projects, and we'll roll them into a rate case. So our goal is to build solar and distribute our solar as cost-effectively as possible. So when we have a project that is right next door to a substation, that's ideal. We couldn't get a better project. So, and we've had a lot of scenarios where we have to travel maybe a mile or so to get the power from the project's, from the facility to the project substation, and it tends to end the discussion pretty quick. It's just cost prohibitive. This project will offer, because this is a tariff-based program, when we generate power, we get renewable energy credits from it. The tariff requires us to offer those renewable energy credits to the customer, and in this case, unless something has changed, the McFarland School District's going to take the renewable energy credits for this project. Basically, what that does is it takes your lease payment and lowers it a little bit on a monthly basis, because the renewable energy credits cost money. So if you're looking at a $50,000, and I think I actually have a slide here, I'm just going to use a rule of thumb. If you're looking at a $50,000 per year lease payment, you might be looking at, when the renewable energy credits are discounted, it might be at the end of the year $45,000. The two entities, being the Village of McFarland and the McFarland Schools District, can transfer, buy, sell the renewable energy credits that are created from this project through the MRETS system. MRETS is the Midwest Renewable Energies Tracking System. And like I said, there at the bottom there, the RECs will, of course, lower the lease payment a little bit. Okay, next slide. That is a high-level snapshot of, it's a conceptual map. We used a model called helioscope to insert panels onto the property there. The red bubbles that go down the fence line, that is a potential area where we might need to remove some trees. Right now, as it stands, if we were to not remove trees, we would be at a project that's in the neighborhood of about 1.2 megawatts. If we were to remove some of those trees, push them back to the property line, nothing beyond that, but to the property line, then we could get the 1.4 megawatts out of the project. So that bubble there, the red bubbling is where we would be looking to do that. We we try to minimize that as much as possible. And once again, when you look at that project site, if you've ever been out there, the trees are pretty mature. There are some, what Andrew Bremer characterized as heritage trees, some pretty significantly big trees. We'd like to keep those in place. Some of them may, once again, they might be side cut, but we can work on whether or not we have to avoid that. Once again, if we have to avoid it and we can't do any of that tree clearing, then we'd probably be looking a little bit more at about a 1.2 megawatt project.
How far off of Sigelco Road is the beginning of the solar panels?
At the top of the screen,
Well,
Yeah. So on the north side.
yeah, so if you can see our substation at the very top, yep, it's another 300 feet to the north there.
so, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, I can visualize it now.
Yep.
Now I see it.
right. The Gun Club access road is actually an easement road along the the eastern side of that facility. We actually do not need an access easement because it's hard to explain, but we would be using that road that's actually on the McFarland substation property, which is owned by Alliant Energy. So we'd be basically using our own road to get in there, and then, of course, right when you hit that property line, you're on the property. They are 540-watt panels, monocrystalline design. They are bifacial, so you get a little bit of power with the snow and reflection off the panels behind them, which is great to have. These are not the type that track. These are fixed tilt. If you go to the next slide, you'll see, I might have an image. That's an overhead view right there. That was a drone image that was provided by Andrew Bremer. As you can see, our project substation there is, the McFarland substation's in the foreground, and the lot where the panels will be is in the background. It's a good site. Okay, next slide. That's probably what your panels will look like. Once again, we're in conceptual mode right now, so I don't know whether or not they will be four on top of one another. I don't think they will be like that. But I put the slide in here to show you a little bit about what it generally looks like. I like this slide because it will show, if you look in the background there, you can see how this type of system will follow the undulating land. Some companies will try to really manicure the land and straighten it out and flatten it out. That costs a lot of money for the civil work, but we can install systems like this that follow the topography to a certain degree, not everywhere. These are, once again, these are fixed tilt systems, not trackers. Our utility scale projects have trackers on them. You get about, I believe, I want to say about 15% more power off of a tracker system that follows the sun. Okay, next slide. Typical vegetation. I have been, last week when I was in the meeting with Andrew Bremer, and we were looking at talking to the Sustainability Committee, I used the term Wisconsin native prairie environment. And we have worked with the DNR quite a bit to get our vegetation management plans correct, with the correct amount of seeds, and of course the type of vegetation management you have depends on the type of soil you have in a certain area. They prefer that I use the term low growth grass environment rather than a Wisconsin prairie grass environment. I did distribute a seed mix that is common to our facilities, to one of the sustainability people a couple days ago. If you're interested in seeing it, I can get you a copy of it. The bottom line is, what we're attempting to do is, some of these grasses, if you left them alone, would reach a maximum height of 24 inches. We will try to maintain them at about 18 inches maximum, so they won't be at the bottom of the panels. It will look a lot like what you have in the image right there. It will take us a couple of years to establish that growth. The first couple of years we are out there, you will see us actually mowing the grass to about 5 inches tall, 6 to 8 inches tall. And that is just in order to establish the grass over the long term. Pollinator friendlies are part of this combination. So typically where we can, and on our utility scale projects, it was a company goal to plant about 9 to 10% pollinator friendly in and amongst our projects. This project, if you go to the next slide, I might have an image that shows that. I think I do. This is not actually the customer hosted project we're looking at, but it looks very similar. This is an idea. This is typically what we will do. The inside would be what you would call your low growth grass environment, and then the perimeter would be your pollinator friendly. When I say pollinator friendly, I believe what you'd be looking at is plants that a flowering type of a plant. Next slide. That is an image of what our deer exclusion fencing looks like. It's pretty simple. Next slide. Right there, that's hard to see from here, but I'm going to do my best. That gives you an idea of, it's a quick glance of what the lease payment structure looks like. Basically what you do is you take the size of the facility in megawatts, and you multiply that times the accredited capacity of solar, which currently is 50%. That will be changing June 1st down to 38.75%. You multiply it times CONE, and CONE is an acronym. It's an acronym that was created by MISO. That's another acronym. Oh yeah, we're full of them. CONE is the cost of new entry. It's a dollar amount associated with these projects. Right now, it's $102,240 per megawatt of accredited capacity. MISO is the Mid-Continent Interconnection System Operator out of Carmel, Indiana. So MISO is basically your transmission traffic cop, if for lack of a better term, and electrical facilities throughout the Midwest region. So they set the CONE value. Right now it's 102,240. So if you multiply CONE times your accredited capacity, out comes your annual lease payment, as you can see there. For this particular project at 1.4 megawatts, it's about $71,000 a year. If you take the RECs, which I understand it will be, the answer is yes. As you can see there, your REC payment, REC value at lease, I can't read that.
$4.
What is it?
$4.
Yes, $4. So at the end of the day, actually I have this right here. Oh, yeah, okay, thank you. REC generated annually $2,207.52. So it discounts it a little bit. At the end of the day, your monthly lease payment, which would be provided to the school district on a monthly basis by check, will be $5,228. The $4 per rec right now, I believe actually the rec price is in the neighborhood of $3.80, I think. So it's gone down a little bit, which will help you a little bit for this project. All right, next slide. Once again, like I said, the reasons why we want to move this along and get to the point where we can sign a lease is not everything, but the accredited capacity of solar drops June 1st, which would change your lease payment. So basically right there, that spreadsheet, or that image right there, is a long-winded way of running a calculation to show when the school district transfers renewable energy credits to the Village of McFarland. The Village of McFarland is attempting to offset their use, their electrical firm demand, with the renewable energy credits. So when you see that 1,142,313, that is the amount of energy that McFarland, the village, goes through on an annual basis in kilowatt hours per year, okay? So to offset that at the end of the day, and I don't know if that's actually contractually what you are working out between the school district and the Village of McFarland.
Yes.
Okay, So at the end of the day, annually, the school district transfers to the Village of McFarland in the MRETS system an amount of RECs worth about $4,569.25. Once again, once that is made and the RECs are transferred, in theory, on paper, you have offset the village's electrical use for the year. Now, once again, that number fluctuates, goes up and down, but generally speaking, that would be about the number. Yep. And that's it. Those are some announcements. I think when this project gets going and the lease has been signed, you would be working with our customer marketing communications individual, Melissa McCarville, who can help make announcements and do, I believe there was something that you wanted to do this summer with respects to that, if I remember right. Maybe that was Andrew that mentioned that to me. But anyways, those are basically announcements, press releases that we've had on other projects, other customer-hosted projects. I did also understand that there was some discussion about getting students involved. And we are very encouraged to do that. That would probably be a little bit more on our operations and maintenance side when this project is up and running, but absolutely. It's a great learning experience. And we would talk to our operations and maintenance folks about, to do that, obviously, it's a generating facility, but we would make sure that if there were programs or classes that you wanted to have involved and go out there and sightsee, we can certainly arrange that. That's a couple of years out. This facility, once again, there are a number of hoops we still have to jump through internally after the lease is signed. We will still need to internally get to the point where we understand how much it's going to cost us to take the power from that land, the 8 acres, across the fence. Once we know that, we'll run a couple of different items along in parallel. We will put this project into our next RFP package and start getting bids from our alliance builders. And then they will jump into engineering, procurement, permitting, and start ordering parts. Some of the parts are out there a ways, 85 weeks on some of them, so everything's backed up. So it'll be a while, but we would hope that we might be able to have something in service towards the end of '24. That's it. That's all I have. Yes,
Any,
questions?
Yes.
questions and comments?
You said that this will heat approximately 300 homes here in McFarland. What size of home are you referring to? How many, what's the square footage of the home you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm gonna say, that I don't know.
Like the average home?
I was just gonna say the average home, so if that is.
But I'm not sure what
I don't
the
know
average
the
is.
average home use is.
Okay.
If that's, oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, but it's the equivalent of heating or giving the electricity to.
Less electricity,
Yeah.
yeah, not gas.
Yeah, sorry.
You talk about the fixed tilt system. So with the fixed tilt system, snow and ice does not collect on those panels, or?
It's,
How
there
does
will
that
be some situations when the snow collects or a freezing rain. So there's always gonna be some environments like that, but generally speaking, it doesn't, the snow will slough off of it.
You never go and clear the panels at all? Okay.
No. These would be what would be considered self-cleaning. So even in the summer,
okay.
when you have dusty conditions, the expectation is the rain will take care of it.
Okay.
I don't think you could say that about every environment throughout the United States. And the technology has improved too, so I don't think you would have been able to say that 10 years ago. I think you probably had to do a little bit more proactive cleaning.
You talked about, would be 9 to 10% pollinators. Is there some reason why that's so low versus 20% or 25%?
That's a good question. You know, when 9 to 10% was born from our utility scale programs. We submitted a certificate of authority to the Public Service Commission, number 1, and then a certificate of authority, number 2, to them. And each one of them had that 9 to 10% pollinator-friendly environment. And I don't know I can find out why we went with that number.
Again, I'm just curious, knowing what's out there or not out there in the environment, and as a village too, we're very concerned about spaces for pollinators, and to me, it just seems low.
Yeah.
It seems to be the max, or the minimum.
Is it the same as that you're using out by the airport? Is that the same mix? I'm not sure, is that an Alliant project?
That's MG&E.
Yeah, I wonder.
Yeah.
Tom, I would
It's
tend,
probably similar to that.
I would think it would be too, and I would think your typical prairie is probably, you're talking about flowering plants, most of it's grass. So, I mean, I would think it's around 80-90% grass, so.
I think that pollinator-friendly environment grows taller, and it's not cut as often.
Okay.
And I think that if you had pollinator-friendly throughout the array area, the bottom of your array will probably be about so tall. And if you were to allow pollinator-friendlies through there, I'm guessing they might get up above the panel height, cause a little bit of shading. I think that's negligible, but I think it would be a little bit more difficult to maintain.
Well, again, that could be part of the rationale, which makes sense. And then lastly, you're requesting that we sign something by June 1st.
Yeah.
What happens if we don't sign by June 1st? Let's say it's.
If you didn't sign by June
July
1st, you'd be, once again, the accredited capacity drops. That's a MISO-generated number. So that's the beginning of their next season, and I'm not really sure what that means, but that's basically June 1st is when they go from 50% to what they call a seasonal construct. The seasonal construct basically is they say yes to a seasonal capacity of 50% for your spring, fall, and summer, and then 5% in the winter. So if you add them all together, you take an average, it's 38.75. So you would, in essence, your lease payment would drop from a lease payment established at 50% versus 38.75. So
Okay,
your
thanks.
71,000 per year would be, I didn't run the math, 50,000,
Okay,
something like that.
good, thanks.
Related to that, is the accredited amount on the lease payment slide, the 0.7, is that what it currently
Yes.
is? And
Yeah.
so it would,
That's accredited, so that's 1.4 divided by, or multiplied
Oh,
by
by
50%, that gives
okay.
you that 0.7.
so it would be 1.4 divided by the
Correct.
38.7?
Yep, absolutely.
One other question, what's the vision for the next stage beyond what we're talking about today? As we look into the future, is there another next step somewhere?
For this particular project?
Or what would the next project be that would impact us?
Well, we're certainly looking at more. One of those being obviously intermediate school, because we're looking at doing our roof next summer, which then once we're done with that, it gives us a good opportunity to move forward with another project. We don't know if it'll be part of working directly with Alliant and/or like we've been doing, we've been applying for grants to help offset that project cost. But, there are other people that have been selected, so, this type of project, which, has been brought to us by basically the village to help their needs, provides us a tool to start looking at how we can do more with some lease payments that would come to us, and that, a portion of this does go to the village. We might give them some. Just kidding, Andrew. That's why we have a reaction.
Yeah.
That's why we have a sublease agreement, and we have the other agreements, so that the village is really taking us into an area that we haven't been yet. So it's helping move us along, and Andrew and his team have been part of that. So I don't see it as our first real kickoff project for the school district. So,
Well, I appreciate the collaboration between the school district and the village.
Yeah, and I think again, I want to just thank Jeff and Andrew, both of you, for doing this, because we're literally on the cutting edge of the state of Wisconsin, what we're doing here, and I just think it's phenomenal.
From an economic perspective, Jeff, is there any downside or risk to the district to doing this? I can't imagine what it would be, but.
I don't see any downfall to this project
Yeah.
financially at all. It's, I mean, if we're just talking about money, we're not looking at what we're doing for, you know, our students' futures of reducing the carbon footprint.
Mhm.
If we're just truly looking at money, yeah, this is money that is coming to the village and the school district. The village is taking the lead in investing in the land and making that initial investment. But if we don't do anything, even if we don't have some revenue come in, that we wouldn't have had come in, not taking more action and taking us more items off of the carbon footprint, that's gonna affect our students in the future.
We need to be good citizens, good community members.
Good stewards.
Good, exactly. Anything else? Anybody got anything else?
Good presentation.
If not, thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
because I came in not knowing a whole lot, but I'm leaving knowing a lot more.
I will say, you did bring up, I forgot to mention this, and actually I should probably put it in my slides a little bit. You asked, what's the next step? Once again, this project goes for 20 to 35 years. After 35 years, the panels actually will have still about 85% life left in them. Now, my vision, or at least what I'm thinking, is that these will, in about 20 or 30 years, the panels won't be 540 watts anymore. They will be triple that, if that. So what I'm thinking might happen is we would look to repower the facility at that time and talk about a new lease at that point, if the program is still going. A lot can change, and the way we provide power in 35 years may look very different. If the project doesn't continue, we would look to, once again, attempt to donate those panels if we can. The second option is to recycle them. The very distant option is disposing of them, but we don't have any plans to do that. So, once again, we'll look to do some donating. If the project goes away completely, decommissioning looks like basically we pull up the fence, we pull up the roads, we pull up all the pilings, everything is gone. Back to, if, the village, of course, could leave the fence in place if they want. And ultimately, it could return to agricultural land, which it currently is right now.
But I would presume that will never happen.
Right. No one like I said, no one knows the future of power generation. So because no one knows it, even though people think that this might be a generating facility long-term, because no one knows that, the Public Service Commission says, look, you have to then demonstrate that you're going to decommission it in some way, shape, or form, and that's why we have decommissioning plans for our projects. And but that's a big question mark.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much,
Thanks.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Much appreciate.
Yep.
Okay, next on the agenda, high school, Indian Mound, Wabisa and Conrad Elvium, 23-24 family handbooks.
Yeah, so, sharing this with you, kind of an informational item with some of the changes. I'll give you a little bit of a background. We do have Mr. Jondal and Dr. Hauser available for your questions, each representing their levels with a 4K through 5 and a 612 focus. The process, just for you, the historical perspective is that back in the old days, when I first got in the district, each building kind of did their own thing. And then over time, we've tried to be more and more consistent and have a process so that hopefully as you reviewed these, you saw parallel language, concepts, developmentally appropriate, of course, throughout, so that for a parent, you should have a consistent experience, a student should have a consistent experience with the handbook. Each year then, what that means is we get together and review that, and been very thankful, the associate principals lead that. Mr. Johndo's kind of the one that organizes it and keeps them going and structured and efficient and motivated. And so we go through and make the changes, and I really appreciate the extra attention given to summarize the changes in the document for you, in addition to seeing the updated versions. Primarily, the changes that you'll see in here are sort of technical corrections. You know, there's some certain things and missions and visions and things and get updated, reflecting current practices. Some, updated policies that we just need to update in here. And things like, changing language, pronouns, things like that you'll see included in there. So generally just there's no major changes, I wouldn't say, in this update that are, controversial or anything, frankly, all that exciting. But it is good that we keep them updated so that, they don't get out of date and then we go, oh no, that says that, but that's not what we do anymore.
Do we update these annually?
Yes.
Okay, that's fantastic. A lot of work.
Yeah, it is a lot of work.
Yeah.
So any, questions that the board has?
I have two questions.
Sure.
The one thing that stuck out when I started to go through there is that the cover page for each of the 5 handbooks.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a drone view of the athletic field, the middle school with Lake Wabisa in the background.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful picture. But I question, why wouldn't we just put the campus building that is reflective of all the information in that handbook? So parents can make that connection
And I
versus a
think,
district-wide.
yeah, I appreciate that. I think it starts with the district section, which is probably why we do have that. But we certainly could, so that a parent would know which one you're looking at really quickly. That wouldn't be hard to have that, even to have both of them.
Yes,
Or have all, 4 schools.
you have all 4 schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Schools section, there is a school photo or logo, whatever is fitting, like the 4K logo, and we have the CPS Spartan Star, and then buildings at the others. But just to delineate that the district is the same in all 5 handbooks is why we've left the picture there, but it's definitely worth consideration.
Yeah, we certainly
So
could
maybe just flip those.
add the visual.
Then the second thing that stuck out in my mind was the district mission. The district mission, I think what's in the handbook is different than the district mission that we have in our strategic plan.
It is different.
And I didn't know if we have
It was a little different.
2 district missions. This is very concise, the new one. The
Yeah,
other
it
one
should be the
is more
updated one.
lengthy, and it talks about how we're going to achieve that mission. There's like 5 or 6.
You aware of
bullet
that,
points.
Brett? Brooke?
No, that was just a mistake on my part. Editing, we changed our building, took the building missions out and put the district, and I must have forgotten to change it in the district portion, so that's an easy fix. That was not intentional, so thank you for that catch.
That should just match the mission in the strategic plan now.
Correct.
Perfect.
That's
Perfect.
correct, yep. Thank you for the catch.
Otherwise, the content I thought was really good.
Yes.
We're trying to, sorry for the noise in the background here, but we're trying to make it as concise as possible, and still detailed. So that's a work in progress each year, is to streamline it the best we can using common language, as Aaron mentioned, and then also make it as brief as possible. So that's something that we continue to work on.
Anybody else have any comments or questions? Thank you very much.
Yes.
Appreciate
Thank you.
your,
Thanks for your feedback.
appreciate you hanging around with us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, next is the school safety written drill evaluation, notification, and review per Wisconsin State Statute 118.074 CP.
So you'll see in there two events that occurred, safety events involving medical holds here at the high school. As I've shared before, but for our new viewers, common practice when we do have a medical situation to protect the privacy of those involved. So there aren't people out in the halls to see someone who's had a medical incident and being transported. And so it's been a very efficient process, and students do a great job with it, and staff as well.
Any questions, comments?
You know, I appreciate the follow-up to each of those, Aaron, and they record whatever the follow-up was.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nice to see.
Yeah. That's standard operating procedure.
Yeah.
We've got it down.
Yeah, you do.
All right. Next is discussion on a preliminary 2023-2024 professional staff employee handbook.
Yeah, so the plan is to discuss this tonight and then take action at our June 5th meeting. Just a note that the draft handbook does not include an updated salary schedule, because that's something that we're still discussing. As you know, the board does know that, but for the public. So the process for this review, we did this last year and it seemed to work out really well, so we just did it again. Which is that we go through and look at the handbook through the Professional Staff Employees Relations Council. And together, you know, we look at possible changes. Some come through administration, some come from staff. We talk about those different issues. We had several carryovers from last year that we discussed and brought forward, and then we prioritize them. We want to move quickly on some things, and others we want to be more thoughtful and planful about that to understand the implications of those things. So we do that, we discuss them, and then once we kind of finalize our prioritized areas, send it out to staff to get their feedback and answer questions, and then use that feedback to bring forward this proposal to you. So what you see in front of you has been vetted by the Professional Staff Employees Relations Committee, and of which some of you attend, so you know this firsthand. The changes for this year, frankly, you know, either fairly minor. There's some things that are about, you know, short-term unpaid leaves, limiting those to 5 total days in a year versus it currently says 5 consecutive days, and so that. What it doesn't limit is the number of unpaid leaves people can take, and that change was just about really the impact when teachers are out. And there's other ways to account for people's time, built in, family medical leave, et cetera. Removing the option of taking a leave of absence for a career evaluation, just haven't had people come back from those, and I think it is a very unique thing to think that you would be able to guarantee your job returning as you go to look and see if you want to take a job in a different place. So that's there. There's leave of absence. The notice currently says 90 days, and we'd like, if possible, for people to give us 180 days notice, because that gives us time to hire a qualified applicant. The later the notice, the smaller the pool. Obviously, extenuating circumstances will make changes. The school calendar one that you'll see in there, we actually did this year, even though it wasn't in the handbook, was it traditionally has been that new staff attend new teacher in-service. They donate their time. It's part of onboarding as being a new staff member. They're not compensated additionally for that, and that changed this year, really at the impetus of Melissa Foll, and we're able to find the funds to do that. So that's carrying forward. Increasing compensation for co-curricular overnight pay. It had a fixed rate of $15 per hour. We're tying it to the base salary so that as base salary goes up, that will go up as well.
Great.
So that was a pretty simple change. Another thing about staff can be eligible for our retirement benefits after being in the district for 15 years. It's currently 20 years, and it's just one of those things where we're finding staff, frankly, leaving other districts to join us later in their careers, which we will accept. And so it makes them eligible for retirement. So a very popular one. In hiring practices, we're just acknowledging that we do, when we post a position, we don't post it internally for a certain amount of days and then post it externally. We post it at the same time, and that's to expedite the hiring process. Those timelines are tight. We're competing with other less worthy districts, and we want to make sure that we get out and go quick on that. Now, that's not to say we won't consider an internal candidate, because obviously we do. And then you see a job description review. There've been some questions about the physical requirements in a job description. And as a district, we've said, yeah, there's no, we make accommodations related to people's disabilities. And instead of just saying that we do that, we added it to the job description language. It's just kind of documenting what we do. And then there's a new part about talking about the composition of of PSERC, that committee, and just saying ideally we'd like it to be 3 years, so we keep kind of new people moving in. There's a process. If there's too many people that want to be in it, that is yet to happen. But if that does happen, we'll make a decision, PSERC and I will decide together. And we want to have it as representative as possible. There's a part about grievances. So there's a policy about grievances. And so there's the things that are not grievable, and how do those things get decided? The current handbook language actually says that a grievance that is non-aggrievable grievance, that's kind of how I call it, will be decided by PSERC, or will be taken to PSERC for consultation. Well, PSERC really isn't a decision-making body in that way. They don't handle individual situations. And so basically we're changing it to say that if somebody goes through the channels, right, go to administrator, come to me, and they're still not satisfied, of course they can bring it to you for consideration. And then the last thing is just sort of a semantics, to be honest, is there's a retirement thing that says every November, by November 30th, we're going to come to PSERC and talk about the benefits, and then we're going to bring it, forward to you. We haven't done that, I don't think, for a long time. We just continue the benefits automatically, so removing that. That's a detailed explanation, but I provide that just so that the viewers don't think we're just like, what you got, it's good, right? So what questions do you have for me?
Anybody have any other questions specific to the handbook?
I don't have a question.
Comments?
So yes, I have comments. I just want to say that this is just from attending, I wasn't at the last PSERC meeting, but attending all of the ones leading up to this and when the process first started, almost a year ago now, right? Is that it was it's been a really thorough process. And those staff members who are on PSERC, the conversations were really, really powerful at times because they were both advocating for themselves as individuals, but then also advocating for their like how the professional staff works as a team and as a group. Like the one about the leave of absence, where it's the 5 consecutive days versus changing that to individual days. That was really interesting because they all said, well, it's really impactful to us as a teaching team to have people continually gone. And so it's, for the betterment of the teaching staff, it's, we want to make sure it works for everybody. And it's a big impact to have people gone for 5 days in a row, multiple times in a year.
Right.
The conversation that they had, it was a really thoughtful process. And so that's, some to you and some to PSERC, that it was just a really interesting process to be a part of. So it's definitely recommended. Changes here are definitely, like Aaron said, vetted and very thoroughly thought through and discussed. So yeah.
I think when I came on the board last May, Aaron, I think you talked about this new process. And it's for sure, all voices are welcome to participate in some form. So,
Yep.
no one can say they've been left out or not heard.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I think having the survey to all of the staff that are impacted by it has really helped, because it's a lot of pressure for those members of PSERC to think, I'm representing everybody, I gotta go talk to everybody. And this gives an opportunity. And to be honest, the feedback that we received this time, a lot of the things were just a misunderstanding or questions about the language, not so much about the intent.
Right.
So it helps reassure us too that we're doing the right thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I love in the statement of purpose, number 3, and Craig, you talk about McFarland being special. It says, "The board desires to create a productive and a harmonious," I love that word, "relationship, and will strive to maintain and improve our standards for the benefit," kind of what you're alluding to, Megan, "of our students." And I think we do a good job with it. That's a wonderful statement.
Yeah, it's a special group.
Yeah.
Anything else? Thank you. Thank you very much. That will take us to the district administrator's report, starting with the strategic plan progress update.
Yes. So I do have a handout for you, and I will share my screen so the public can see it. I will try to make this concise because we do have other things to get to tonight, but this is important. Wanted to
Thanks.
provide you with an update, and after I'm done, I think we'll
Thank you.
just check in to see how you feel about our frequency of our presentations. About this, but this is going to give an overview of our current status. As I get going, that's me. Thank you to Angie reminding me to turn off my volume.
The echo
I'm
chamber.
supposed to
That's
not
actually
say
what you
that,
were gonna
aren't
say
I?
when you said,
I'm supposed to like
I'm
nod
gonna
and
try to
admit that
remember.
you helped me do that. All right. Okay. So you can see a little bit there. In this document, we have our mission and vision at the top, which we just discussed. You know, the purpose really of our time here for this presentation is just to give an update. We promised that we would be held accountable, that this is not going to just be something that sits on a shelf. And so here you go. Here is an update of our current status. One of the things we talked about here is about distributing this. So we're trying to get this out and about. You know, there was the video that was made. That's been important. We've also been doing some action planning and brought in a consultant who helped us with a strategic plan to do that. So we developed annual objectives to break down those broader 5-year objectives. So we'll be reviewing progress on that. We're currently establishing metrics, so how we're measuring our progress. In addition to checking off our tasks, we also want to know that it's making a difference. The reason we don't have those yet is because some of the surveys that we're doing, we did for the first time, staff and then also a parent-guardian survey, they're kind of establishing our baseline. So now we're analyzing those results, and we'll use those to establish goals moving forward. And then I just wanted to make a reference to applying this strategic plan. Not a week goes by where someone doesn't say, well, our strategic plan would direct us to make this decision. So it's really come up a lot. And frankly, it was really, really impactful for our recent coordinator position for diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Okay, so we're going to go to our first pillar, educational excellence. And you can see the overall objective there is improving academic achievement with a focus on literacy and closing gaps for traditionally underserved groups. But then we broke that down a little bit. The first thing that we've been focusing on, the work we've been accomplishing, has been what are all the different systems, initiatives, projects that we have? Making a list of all those things. We do a lot of things once or halfway. So let's get those out on the table. Our next step will be then deciding which are the ones that really we think will impact our students positively. So prioritizing, because we do have initiative fatigue, and we want to do ones that are sustainable. We've also continued to analyze our data, including looking at different subgroups, so behavior and achievement data. That is a cycle that is part of the strategic plan to assess our effectiveness. And of course, you know about the new literacy program coming forth. In terms of our next steps, we're just going to come up with some goals, and then, what are our, kind of our few big rock commitments to our structures and systems that we're going to take moving forward, and then what does that look like on a 3-year plan? Because we tend to not think about sustainability. So how does that progressively look? So that's our just an update on that pillar. Family and community engagement. Obviously, we want to build meaningful and constructive communication and partnerships to ensure equitable access, representation, and voice. Now, the first thing we're doing is similar to what we did with the last pillar. What are we doing? Like, what are the partnerships that currently exist, from our work with service organizations, the Alliance and the Optimists, to business education, partnership, all those kind of things. So we've made a list of those things, and now our plan is to look at where are the gaps, where are we missing opportunities. We also have, as I shared, looked at the community, or the survey from the Parent Guardian Satisfaction Survey, and we have some initial results. There's actually some things we can do fairly quickly to streamline communication, but we're putting together those action steps for you. We also held our first Family Equity Council meeting. Was just looking at those results from that meeting. Looking to set up our next meeting for next month. And then, we're going to use all of this information to come up with our goals. So I know it feels like, we've been at this a few months, but we are taking the time to really look at what's our best direction. Exceptional staff, of course, we already have that, but we also want to have an inclusive work environment where people, it fosters open communication, collaboration, growth, support. So that's really looking at it from a staff lens, but we also want to attract and retain a diverse staff representative of a global society. So again, you're going to hear this theme, right? We're doing a staff check-in survey to assess our current relationships. What are people saying now? And analyzing those results and setting goals. So I should say too, the Parent Guardian Survey results that I mentioned in the last pillar, I'll be sharing those with you at the next board meeting. And then the following board meeting, I'll be sharing the staff survey results, so with you. But using that to set goals. And then what are best practices for recruitment and retainment of diverse staff? We had an initial just sort of a meeting with a consultant group that works on hiring practices, and they're coming up with a proposal for us to consider. But we're also looking at gathering data, about the diversity of our staff. We've started work on reviewing job descriptions to make sure that there aren't any unnecessary barriers to attracting diverse staff, and then just looking at best practices. That's coming up next. So a lot of work to do in that one. And then resource allocation. We want to have a fiscally and environmentally responsible operational plan that is equitable, sustainable, and adaptable to evolving needs and priorities, while also deepening our investment to diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts through community partnerships and district action. So obviously, we're preparing a balanced budget for next year. We're looking, of course, as you know, to the fiscal cliff that is coming for us right after that. In terms of next steps, we're going to be looking at, what are the expenses related to those 3 pillars? How does our current budget align with the other 3 pillars to make sure that we're able to meet the needs financially and in terms of staff resources? We're also, may need to come to you to say, in order to support this plan, we need this. So that's coming up. In terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion, we've really tried to pull together our current projects and initiatives related to that, have a clear plan moving forward, and then, of course, completed the hiring process for a new equity-related leadership position. So we're bringing forward to you at our next board meeting recommendation for a person to hire Brittany Brazel for the Coordinator of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging position. So that is a lot to accomplish. Moving forward, continue to look at what resources are needed to support that position and the work ahead of us, and also looking at a kind of a 100-day plan for that position. I'm a little afraid I'm going to overwhelm her because I'm so excited to have her get started. So that's the update as fast as I am able to talk. What questions, comments do you have for me?
The 100-day plan that you're talking about
Yeah.
for the new coordinator, is that 100 calendar days or 100 school days?
Yeah, calendar days.
Okay.
Yep. So that, it's meant to give you kind of that first, getting started, kind of like a president does, right?
First 3 months.
Yeah, the first 3 months, yeah.
I appreciate this very much. All I could say is job well done. I think we were right on track. Your biggest fear kind of is losing momentum.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't seem like that's the case here, and I just congratulations on it. It's a great job.
Thank you.
Anybody got anything else?
I like
on
it.
that?
Do you have a sense of how often you'd like these? I know we kind of discussed this at the retreat, but.
You're going to start reporting out on some of the data that you're collecting.
Yeah.
Next time. I sort of like this because at least semi-annually.
Yeah.
I was gonna say quarterly.
I was going to
Yeah.
say quarterly. if you could.
Quarterly
But
is
do
what I
you
was
feel
gonna
like
say.
there's
What
gonna
about
be,
thirds?
It may not be.
I want to be able to see the progress, and I
Yeah.
think quarterly may be
That may be
difficult to
good.
see
Yeah.
that.
Maybe
Good
even,
point.
yeah.
Yeah, every 4 months, so that'd be 3 times.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's
That'd be a
fine.
good place to start, and then,
If it's too much, then we
Yeah.
can.
Yeah,
We can
I don't know, even
go back.
4 months. I mean, look we're June 1st already. And you've been able to accomplish a lot, but it's taken 6 months. I'd be more in favor of doing it semi-annually, so we can see what type of movements.
I'm fine with
If
that.
there are issues, you certainly can bring them before that.
yeah, I could get on board with that. I feel like we get updates on the individual pieces, like you said, somewhat frequently, so that's, 6 months is fine with me too.
You good with that, Bruce?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Kate?
Yep.
All right.
You'll also have in like October, November, where we do the school improvement plans, and that'll be kind of like another check-in too, so it's almost
Yeah.
like another one built in.
Yeah, this format is really great. One thing I've just appreciated overall, and I probably should have said this during the handbook updates too, but just the way that information is presented to us is really digestible.
Okay.
And it's really, like even just the format, I mean, it seems like a silly thing to focus on, but it's just
Well,
very easy for us to follow.
Thank you. I
Agreed.
focused on it
Yeah.
when I made
It's
it.
not, it seems like it shouldn't matter that much, but it really actually does, so thank
Okay.
you for that.
Excellent. All right, I'm gonna jump into just some recognitions then, if you don't mind.
Please
We
do.
move on to the rest of my report.
Please do.
Just everyone involved in the hiring process. I know I say that often, but it's quite an undertaking. And we have students, we have parents, community members, we have staff involved in the hiring process, and just so impressed with the work that's being done with that. Really wanted to acknowledge, now that I think we've probably had our last big all-school speaker at the high school with Sullivan's message about alcohol and drug abuse. Just really impressed with the leadership the high school has shown in terms of organizing those presentations and often including a community component. I think that's just a great thing to celebrate. May 5th, Professional Development Day, was such a productive day. A reminder that was sort of 2 professional development days in one, because we were snowed out from our last one. So just appreciate particularly the administrators for putting together a really meaningful and engaging day for our staff. And then you'll see a shot coming up here pretty quick, a picture from a field trip, but just everybody involved in the field work. Nelson's getting us to and from places safely, and the amount of time that it takes to plan a good field trip. It's an undertaking, but our staff are committed to it, to providing those experiences to our kids. Other things I wanted to mention before I get into the pictures is, I mentioned this in the McFarland minutes that I send you each week, but, the COVID emergency declarations are ending. The recommended isolation guidance hasn't changed, though. So what we are doing as a district is we're going to finish the school year as we have been, following the guidelines we have been. We'll reassess this summer and bring that forward to you for consideration about any possible changes. Some districts have just dropped completely. And we just figured for the last few weeks of school, let's just stay status quo. And also just want to update for the public and for you, I'm still working on the process for exploring whether or not to rename Conrad Alvian Primary School, and if so, then the process for determining a new name. I will now go into some pictures as promised. Well, field trip here, going to the Aldo Leopold Center. What a great resource, very close to us. And you can see our teachers here who organized that, and those are real smiles. Those are real smiles.
They sure are.
I love that. Oh, and students are, so excited and curious to get out. That's nice. Oh, I love this picture. I know it's kind of small to see, but so this is very unique, having been a middle school administrator. So the prize for filling up their 10 frame is lunch with the principal. That happens with Wabisa too, and I think that's a prize. But you can see in the back, you can see Mr. Nelson back there, just as excited as they are. So I can understand why they are so excited. I mean, what a great picture, right? It's one of those many things.
Principals are celebrities at that level.
Yeah, I know, it's something. First grade music program there, what a great thing to be up on that beautiful stage and have that experience. I wasn't able to attend, but I heard it was a great, great program. And this I was able to attend. So Real World Day continues, which you've heard about, where we've got community members, parents, others coming in. The one on the right's the tree trimming, which is always kind of fun. They hang from our ceiling. Arborist would be the phrase, so great community event. Alliance of Allies and Unified Club. So Alliance of Allies is the middle school version, and Unified Club is the high school version, where it's talking about bringing together people of all abilities together, and they do activities together. So they went to a movie together to celebrate inclusion. So a lot of fun had by all, thanks to the staff that organized that. Black Student Union had a field trip to Lewis Park. So there they are, eating their good food. There, great picture. I don't think they were ready for this picture. You can see they're like mid-bite. What? But great group of students there. Of course, we had the State Solo Ensemble, so Exemplary Performance Recognition Award winners. So pretty exciting. A lot to be proud of. Our amazing arts program is something certainly to be celebrated. Prom happened. Great picture there of our court and our royalty, and just a lot of smiles all the way around there. So very exciting. And I know you saw this. I sent this to you. I wasn't able to attend, but brought in Vietnam War veterans to talk about their experience to freshman U.S. history, really bringing history alive. Those are the things I'm sure they remember all of the engaging lessons in class. But these are the things that they really will remember.
And I attended that, Aaron.
Oh, you did?
And it's amazing the sophisticated questions that they asked
Yeah.
the vets here.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
So I don't know if the teachers have primed them, but I was impressed. And then at the end, I think they gave them a standing ovation.
Yeah.
And many of them went up to the front to shake their hands.
Yes, that was also, I saw that on Facebook
it was
as
really
well.
good.
Yeah, it goes two ways, right?
It
We
does.
take, but hopefully, oops, sorry, microphone. We give back.
Yeah.
We give back. That was probably dramatic on the audio. We talked about this last time, but here's the picture for the Rock Valley Conference Academic Award winners. Very exciting. Congratulations to them. Optimist Student of the Month, Senior of the Month was Avery Weaver. Love this picture.
Yeah.
Dressed fancy with the soccer ball. So very deserving, certainly, a very involved and engaged student. We had National School Nurse Day, and whew, they have a hard job. It's all behind the scenes, but wow, so grateful. We have such a talented team with some new members. Of course, Stephanie being our new district nurse.
Aaron, are these all nurses or some of them health aides?
They're health aides, nurse assistants, I think
okay.
is the term that we use, I believe, or health assistant, I think is the term that we use, so.
If someone asked me, I said, I'll find
Yeah,
out.
yeah, and it's kind of like, in a district of our size, you typically have like a district nurse. The top two, yeah, and Lauren Neeson as well, so. So yes, so they get top billing right there. But then having somebody in each facility, which wasn't always the case. Remember
Right.
that back in the old days, Mr. Mooney. Teacher Appreciation Week, and thank you again to the board for setting aside some funds for McFarland House. Several people took advantage of that, passed on their gratitude, but a lot of great events. Thank you to the community, parents, guardians for all they provided. Very, very special week, very deserving there. And another big day, School Lunch Hero Day. Love the shirts. Very thoughtful to put those together. What a great team. The food is amazing. We are so fortunate. I tell you, you really get spoiled here in this. A lot of options. They do a great job. Anytime you're in a building and it's over breakfast or lunch, make sure to stop in and say thank you. They're great with kids too, not just
They
with
sure
food.
are.
And I think that's that. In terms of upcoming events, we've got a bunch of music shows. Tonight, actually, I think is fifth grade.
Yes, it is.
Middle school choir tomorrow. School Pathologist Day is coming up on the 18th. We have senior exit interviews this week. One of my favorite traditions on the 19th, that's Friday, the middle school staff versus student basketball game. Hopefully none of the staff get hurt. Blues in the Night, I guess, is this weekend. Orchestra concert coming up next week. Scholarship Night is the 24th. I will not be able to attend, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, I guess, because I'll be at my son's. But orchestra concert following that on the 25th. Then we have no school, and then it just gets crazy. 6th grade band, Olympiad. We'll be back for school board, 8th grade rec. Last day of school for students, and of course our celebration for our staff, including our retirees on the 9th, and graduation coming up on the 11th.
It's wild.
A lot of great things there. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we will move on to action items in that case. The first one being consideration and potential action regarding the joint solar project lease agreement with the Village of McFarland and related sublease agreement with the Wisconsin Power and Light Company. And I think I will go ahead and make this motion. I move to approve the consideration and potential action regarding the joint solar project lease agreement with the Village of McFarland and related sublease agreement with the Wisconsin Power and Light Company as recommended by administration, and give authority to McFarland administration and McFarland School District Legal Counsel to incorporate minor revisions as necessary.
I will second that.
Thank you, Bruce. Discussion?
I'm in support of the proposal. I wish it could have been presented last time.
Oh,
Yeah, so we would just have time
Yeah,
to
the
think more
gap
about
between
it,
the
and
two.
if we had more questions, additional questions.
that is typically what we do.
Yeah, and I understand that, but that's my only comment.
Anybody else? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
That's exciting.
It
Jeff.
sure is. Thanks very much,
Yes.
Jeff, for all your hard work.
Yeah.
Next is, at this time, we recommend denial of the students listed in the attached
Wait,
exhibit.
No,
I think we're doing lacrosse.
Oh, we're doing lacrosse. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong place here. Okay, action on approval of WIAA Girls Lacrosse Cooperative Team Sponsorship. Mr. Ackley, I assume you're here to enlighten us or answer any questions?
Yeah, yep, a proposal was sent to you
Yes.
all, so if you have questions, I'm here to help out and answer questions if needed, and kind of go from there.
the only question I have, Paul, I think I know this, I think, is it the girls are in the spring?
Both.
Both are in the spring?
Yep.
Okay, that's what I wasn't quite sure.
Yeah, the WIA sanctioned the sport in December, making it be a spring sport for both boys and girls.
That's unique,
It is.
yeah.
Yeah, I think what they're finding is just pairing it up is gonna allow it potentially to have better growth, more representation, and just, looking at both of them. And, you see that with boys and girls basketball,
You're
you
right.
see it with
Obviously,
with some other
obviously.
sports, boys and girls wrestling now,
Hockey?
WI hockey.
Yeah.
So I think
Okay.
they're, kind of
Yeah,
kind
isn't unique.
of looking to do that.
I
So
take it back, it's not unique.
not overly unique, but, in the spring it is,
Yeah.
right? In the spring, because we do have like golf where it's fall and spring, tennis fall and spring, things like that.
I noticed over the weekend, I was out and about a little bit, and out in Wanakee, they have what I believe is a dedicated lacrosse field out there. I
The
noticed
stadium,
small goals,
yes,
and it appeared to be an odd-sized field,
yeah. I don't know the dimensions. I know the dimensions are different for boys and girls fields. Many of the, like Wanakee, I believe, is in the stadium as well, but they probably have some village areas where they have some
I think
practice
this was at
fields.
the intermediate school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably some practice fields,
Yep, yep.
for sure.
So,
Go ahead.
I have a question. So just to clarify, it looks like Oregon would still be the one kind of managing this, and then
Correct.
practices and everything would be through Oregon, correct? Okay.
Yeah, so they, in a cooperative agreement, you usually have what's called a lead school. And that lead school then usually has the facilities, primarily has most of the participants, and has kind of set it already up, but maybe they're looking for more people to be part of it, or providing, like in Oregon's case, providing us an opportunity. This is a very unique situation where we've had kids over the years participate in the Oregon Lacrosse Club because it hasn't been a sanctioned sport by the WIA. Now it is. So the high school portion of that club is going to no longer be available, and it's going to be under the umbrella of a cooperative agreement. So one of the things that was important to us was we have currently one male and one female playing on the boys and the girls team. But we also have some middle school kids that are participating in the club at the middle school level that will be coming up. If we didn't have the cooperative agreement with Oregon,
They wouldn't have an opportunity.
they wouldn't have an opportunity to play.
Sure.
Because the lacrosse club isn't going to be there for that age group any longer. So it was important for us to act on this quickly, and it kind of came to us pretty quick. I know Aaron and I had a conversation about that, but just last Monday, the Oregon board voted to approve the cooperative, that they would allow different schools to be in their group, because in all honesty, they have enough within their own organization, within their own school district, for boys, for sure. Girls, I think they could use the help from other districts to bring in more participants.
Are there other districts beyond McFarland that is gonna co-op
Yes.
with Oregon potentially?
Yes, so you'll have McFarland, Oregon, Broadhead, and Evansville.
Okay.
Those
And
are,
Stoughton.
and Stoughton.
And Stoughton.
And those are currently the 5 schools that represent the club,
Okay. All
for
right.
boys and
It's just
girls.
a change.
Okay.
Yeah, and I really appreciate Paul for getting this moving so quick. I mean, he was put in a tough spot and is making it happen.
No significant expense involved with the sport?
Right now, I mean, there is, in your proposal, there was a budget listed by Brittany Spencer Grant, the athletic director at Oregon. It's down on page 3. This is an estimated girls' budget and an estimated boys' budget. And so there'll be costs, but one thing I did take the initiative on was to contact the families personally through a phone call and just talk with them through this process so that it wasn't a surprise, you know, I mean, we have other sports that we co-op with that have funding from the families, such as hockey. Girls hockey is a good example. I feel the parents are in high support of, you know, letting it's going to start with them to financially support it. Talking with our past athletic director, Brad Minter, and going back to when we started up our girls hockey cooperative agreement with Monona Grove, Oregon, Stoughton, and us back in 2007, I think it was. You know, that's how that started, where the families have said, listen, we want this opportunity for our children. We're willing to help out. I'm sure they're looking at doing some type of fundraising to decrease the cost. One thing that I propose that we do district-wide is that we look at this as a lacrosse cooperative agreement, not a separate boys and separate girls, because we're gonna have more boys at this point playing than we do girls, so therefore the girl cost would be higher than the boy cost. And I didn't feel that that was equitable, so we wanted to say, listen, we're gonna take it, we're gonna say, we have 5 families. Oregon's gonna bill us per player. We're gonna lump that together, and then we will break it up evenly amongst the families. And this proposal was also sent out to the families for them to see. I did that this morning, and I didn't have any concerns back throughout the day, phone calls or emails in regards to the financial aspect.
And Title IX stuff has all been addressed, this
As long as we're having
boys
boys
sport
and
to girls
girls.
sport.
Yep, yeah,
Okay.
I don't see any issues in regards to Title IX concerns.
Any other questions for Paul? Comments? Hearing none, I would look for a motion to approve the requested girls lacrosse cooperative team sponsorship.
Sure, I'll move to approve the WIAA Girls Lacrosse Cooperative Team proposal as recommended by administration.
Thank you, Tom. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Kate? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next is action on approval of WIAA Boys Lacrosse Cooperative Team sponsorship. I assume that the discussion regarding the girls is the same as the boys, so I would look for a motion.
I'll move to approve the WIA Boys Lacrosse Cooperative Team proposal as recommended by
Thank you, Megan.
administration.
Second.
I'll second.
Kate? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations and thanks very much.
Yeah, you're
We'll look
welcome. Thank you
forward
for your
to-
support.
Look forward to another activity to watch.
Yeah, it's nice too with the transition into the Badger Conference for all of our sports next year. This is a common sport in the Badger Conference, so it puts us right in line with some of the offerings that that conference allows. So we've met with, just in our last athletic directors meeting, obviously the Oregon Co-op, Edgewood and Monona Grove are gonna be co-oping with the Madison schools for the first 2 years at least, so they'll have a team as well. Watertown, there's other schools there, so it'll be a nice schedule and just kind of a growing opportunity for our kids.
Are there any schools that aren't co-opted?
Yes, there are. DeForest has their own team, Wanakee has their own team.
Well, you said Oregon could have.
Oregon, I think,
Boys.
could have, boys side
Yeah,
of things, for
okay.
sure. Yeah, I think right now there's
Yeah.
64 boys in the high school level playing. Now, that does include some others, but I think they have about 40 or 50 boys. But again, those enrollments are, like I was telling Mr. Tarnitzer, you know, the schools that have it on their own, Sauk Prairie has, well, they do co-op actually with Lodi and another one, but schools that have that are, it's just a higher enrollment than what we have. I mean, those schools are almost double our size at times.
You know, it's almost ironic that lacrosse is one of the oldest sports in existence. I know
It is.
at least in the Americas here, it was clear back in the 1800s. And it's not, I think, as widely known in this area of the country. It's big out in the East Coast, I believe.
Yes.
Very, very big.
Very, yeah,
And
Bruce
they-
would know that.
Bruce, yeah, you
Syracuse had a
got-
pretty good
Syracuse
team, I
guy.
think. I think a guy Who was the player out there?
Jim Brown.
Jim Brown.
was a lacrosse
Jim Brown
player.
was a pretty good
That's right.
lacrosse player. Turned out to be a pretty good tailback too. For the Browns, but-
All right, anyway, thanks
Yeah.
very much, Paul.
You betcha, thank you.
Okay, next is action on the recommended fee schedule for 2023, 2024. Is there any discussion?
The only discussion I have is, the fees seem to be very reasonable. I mean, we've been able to maintain the status quo, basically, for many of them, so I appreciate that, especially in light of everything going up in cost.
I appreciate the effort too of trying to reduce them whenever possible, so you'll see that in
Yes.
several places.
I saw that.
That's just really
Yeah.
integrity.
I would look for a motion in that case.
I'll make that.
Thank you, Bruce. Better make it then.
Okay, excuse me. Thank you. Sorry, Craig, I'm on the wrong page.
That's all right.
Myself. Yes. I move to approve the 2023-24 fee schedule as recommended by administration.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Tom? Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Let's see, action on 2023-2024 McFarland School District open enrollment applications. We must notify open enrollment applicants of whether or not we have accepted their applications. At this time, we seek separate board approval for each exhibit as listed below. At this time, we recommend approval of the students listed in the attached exhibit requesting attendance at McFarland School District. Do I have a motion?
Could someone sort of explain further, because we have three options there?
Yeah, there are three separate motions.
Yep.
So it's
Okay.
kind of like a motion to approve students, a motion to deny students, so you have to take each
Because-
one separately. They're
Because we
separate.
have three lists in front of us.
Correct.
Okay.
So each one, it isn't just one, unfortunately,
Mhm.
just one motion to say, yeah, everything in there, that's good.
And is there a recommendation by administration?
Yeah,
On
the
each of these.
recommendation is what you see there in
Okay.
the attachment.
Okay.
Yep, yep.
Okay, so I move to approve the students listed in the attached exhibit who requested attendance at the McFarland School District.
Thank you, Kate.
And I will second that.
Bruce? If there's no other discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. At this time, we recommend denial of the students listed in the attached exhibit requesting attendance at McFarland School District, and I would look for a motion.
I can move to approve the denial of the students listed in the attached exhibit who requested attendance at the McFarland School District.
Thank you, Megan. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Tom? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
I have a question before we
Oh,
move.
sorry, Kate.
So I understand that we're denying these kids acceptance into the district right now, but based on previous discussions, is there any way that's going to change prior to next year with 4K and kindergarten levels? No?
No, we would certainly relook at where grade levels end up for 4K and kindergarten in the following year when they become kindergarten and first grade to see if the patterns that we've talked about don't change.
Okay.
So it'd be a year later?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
That's certainly possible.
Okay.
But for these
For this,
particular
wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
students, they would still have to reapply,
Right.
right, go through the process.
Yeah.
And we've set the limits
So
for
then
this
when
coming
we,
year.
when we notify them of their acceptance or denial, are they encouraged to check back the following year? Or how does this work when we notify them? I'm just curious, because I know
The
we've
letter doesn't
been,
speak to the following year because each year
is
we
different.
have to come to the board with updates.
Mhm.
And we just one more discussion and
Sure,
then
sure.
we'll be done. And then
good to
we,
understand.
we don't have any preference for like administration or staff that wants their children to come here.
By law, you cannot do that,
Okay.
so
We
we
are-
don't.
I'm
Okay.
glad you asked that.
Just so we
because
don't. That's good.
Well, I've heard,
It does come up.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've heard
Yeah,
that.
I'm
I didn't
glad you
realize
asked
that's a
that. We,
state.
we can't.
okay,
We can't say, well, you can and you can't. It's kind of a, it's based on space needs. So
Yep.
if there's no space,
There's no space. It doesn't, regardless of who it is.
yeah.
And when
Certainly
we
if
do
they
open
move.
it up, and you do have space potentially in the coming years, it's by a lottery system too, because there'll be more requests.
Oh, yeah.
The request list is low because of the fact that we also show that we have zero
Mhm.
space estimated available. So therefore, not everybody that would want to
Right.
would apply. So hence the reason why we could not just open doors open in September and say, who's interested? You have to follow the process.
Mhm.
okay.
Good questions.
Anybody got anything else?
Nope.
If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. At this time, we recommend approval of the students listed in the attached exhibit requesting attendance outside the McFarland School District. And I would look for a motion for that one.
I can make that. Want me to read that again then?
Sure.
Okay. I move to approve the students listed in the attached exhibit who requested attendance outside the McFarland School District.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Kate? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next is action on 2023-2024 WEVA K through 8, WEVA High School, Wisconsin Destinations Career Academy, and Insight School of Wisconsin open enrollment applications. The description, WEVA K through 8, WEVA High School, Wisconsin Destinations Career Academy, and Insight School of Wisconsin must notify open enrollment applicants of whether or not we have accepted their applications. And at this time, we seek separate board approval for each exhibit as listed below.
Sure, I'll move to approve the students listed in the attached exhibit who requested attendance at WEVA K-8, WEVA High School, Destination, and Insight School of Wisconsin.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
And second that.
Megan? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. I would look for another motion. You could go ahead and read it yourself, whoever's going to do it.
I can do that, Craig.
Thank you, Bruce.
I move to approve the denial of the students listed in the attached exhibit who requested attendance at WEVA K-8, WEVA High School, Wisconsin
Destinations Career
Destination
Academy.
Academy, yes, and then the
Inside School.
Inside School of Wisconsin.
Yeah. Got a second?
Second.
Tom, thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Then we have action on open enrollment reversal process. Administration is requesting board approval for the district administrator or designee to reverse open enrollment approval or denial decisions based on updated data related to expulsions, wait list, and special education status. Is there any explanation necessary for
I
that?
can just grab that. Yeah, so we set space availability for, these different categories. So, for example, we can only serve so many students for speech and language services, for example. Well, those numbers do change over time. And so this provides us the flexibility to say, like, we may say, oh, we don't have room now to provide speech and language services for, people that are new, but now we do, so that changes. It just gives us that flexibility to adjust based on the latest data specific to those things.
Have we done that in the past?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, often it goes the other way where we have to deny,
Yeah.
somebody
Okay.
because of that. So there's certain, I mean, I'll just be honest with you, there's certain situations where we'll have a student who is open enrolled in, and then they're identified with requiring a service that we don't have space for, and they end up returning to their home district. It's unfortunate, but we just don't have the ability to hire additional staff for one student in that kind of a situation.
Anything else? Any other questions? If not, I'd look for a motion.
I move to approve the district administrator or a designee to reverse open enrollment approval or denial decisions based on updated data related to expulsions, waitlist, and special education status.
Thank you, Kate. Do I have a second?
I can second that.
Megan? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0, and I would look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Kate, thank you. Second?
I'll second.
that.
Megan? Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0, and we are adjourned at 8:47.
7:47.
7:47.
7:47.
7:47.
I'm sorry, 7:47.